Good afternoon, everybody. This is Barb Pello, Group Director at InfoTrends, and I'm delighted that you could join us to talk about emerging technologies and how they can optimize book publishers' content strategies. We all recognize that we're in a market that's going through a major transformation, and a lot of the change is really being driven by the delivery system, from pure print to print and digital. During the webinar today, we're going to explore how publishers are adapting to industry changes, and in some instances, ways that they're not adapting. Well, book publishing has withstood the digital disruption better than a lot of other industries. I think it remains to be seen what the future holds. And so today, we're going to talk about the implications of a number of different emerging technologies ranging from mobile to augmented reality. And you're going to hear from two publishers that will share with you how they're innovating. Before we get started, what I do want to do is just give you a couple of tips for enjoying the webinar. First of all, if you're having any technical difficulties, let us know by using the Q&A box, or you can troubleshoot by clicking the Help widget below. We'll be taking questions throughout the webinar, and if you want to ask a question of one of our speakers, submit via the Q&A box. If you want to see what the console can do, click on the Tips for Attendee widget for a complete rundown. And again, don't forget to share the webinar with your friends and colleagues. I'm delighted today to be joined by two experts in the field. The first is Scott Yoakum, and Scott's the CEO of Popper Toys and Squishland, and Brett Cohen, president of Quirk Books. What we'll be doing today is I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes talking about some of the emerging technologies that we're seeing in the marketplace. Brett's going to share with you some of the strategies that they've deployed at Quirk Books. And then Scott is going to talk to you about how he's bringing books to life, leveraging augmented reality. Now, to get started, let's talk about some of the technologies that are out there. One of the first things that we're seeing is this whole concept of mobile barcodes. And InfoTrends is a market research, so we track utilization of some of these emerging technologies. And what we've seen between 2011 and 2013 is almost a 20% increase in the use of QR codes. Those QR codes are those funny-looking little barcodes on a number of different books, magazines, packaging that you've seen. And what those consumers are doing is they're clicking on those barcodes to get additional information, take advantage of a coupon or a discount, or maybe even just test the code. The next slide has examples of the different types of codes that you see out there. And those codes are linked to content associated with the context of the book, campaign, program, or initiative. What you have to do is download an app to your mobile device, and you can interact with those codes. It makes them, by the way, easy to track and measure in terms of how people are, in fact, actually using those codes. Now, when you ask, well, what's the implication for the book market? One of my favorite examples was that the book was republished leveraging QR codes, and it was a book by Jules Verne called Around the World in 80 Days. And what they did is they embedded in it QR codes, and those QR codes had hyperlinks to a number of the different destinations associated with Around the World in 80 Days. It was produced by Ubimark, and again, they were an early adopter of the technology. But we're seeing it in a number of other different instances. For instance, there's a book out called Bite Me Too. It's a clever cookbook that leverages QR codes. And it's peppered with videos of two sisters cooking in their own kitchens, and they're talking about how to throw parties, how to be authentic, and how to build out great recipes in terms of everything from cookies to cakes to great casseroles. Now, the next technology that we're starting to see emerge in the marketplace is something called near-field communications. And basically what near-field communications is it's a small marker, and what it basically contains is an embedded transmitter. It kind of looks like a yellow sticky note. And what will happen is I can connect my mobile device if I wave it in proximity to that specific printed piece. Up until a few weeks ago, with the advent of the iPhone 6, it was only Android phones that were NFC enabled automatically. iPhone has announced that will support NFC. Today it's only for Apple Pay. But basically what we're finding is that consumers do understand NFC. They've used it to do things like make a payment at a store, exchange information with another NFC-enabled device, redeem a coupon or a ticket for an event. Now, one of the first NFC-powered books was actually created by Patrick Meyer, and it was Steve Jobs in the World of Mobile. And basically what he did is he embedded an NFC tag in the cover of that book, and what it had was a link to a video where they could explain several components of the content within the book. There's another book out that has a number of NFC tags contained in it. It's called Catch the Sun. And it was the world's first commercially available book with NFC technology integrated in the inside. Basically what happened was it was a book about hot air ballooning, and I could link to full-color pictures, movies, music, and internet features by merely waving my cell phone across the NFC tag. Another technology, and Scott will talk much more in depth about this, is something called augmented reality. And basically what happens is it overlays objects and places in the real world with a layer of digital information to augment an experience. And so what I have to do is download an augmented reality application to my cell phone, and then I can interact or engage with various types of superimposed graphics, audio, or other sensory enhancements. And so I can actually leverage and build that type of capability into books. We're seeing augmented reality gain traction in the marketplace. And in fact, when we surveyed consumers, the use of augmented reality applications jumped in 2011 from 16% to north of 25%. Our projections and the projections for the future of the market are substantial. When you look at what the research predictors say, Semico says that the number of AR-enabled smartphones is at 864 million. The AR apps generate about 300 million in revenues, but by 2017, that value is going to jump to 5.2 billion. And Juniper Research said that the number of mobile AR apps downloaded in smartphones and tablets by 2017 will exceed 2.5 billion. Where are we seeing that? Well, Scott's going to share a lot more about this, but it cuts across everything from children's books to things like augmented reality magic books that talk to people about the solar system. The last area, and Brett's going to be talking about this a bit more, is that we're also seeing books being combined with mobile apps. And what we're finding is that in today's market, the mobile apps are driving a lot of cell phone usage, and that individuals are downloading mobile apps to interact and engage versus just linking to a website with their cell phone. With that as a bit of a backdrop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over to Brett Cohen from Quirk Books, and Brett's going to share with you the types of things that they're doing in terms of blending emerging technology with books to optimize content strategies. So with that, Brett, take it away.
Thanks, Barb. So just a quick note on Quirk Books before we start. We publish about 25 titles per year across a variety of categories, and our audience is roughly 18 to 34, urban, spends a lot of time online, very much part of the Comic-Con crowd. They want to acquire and make cool stuff and appreciate the details like cover design, book design, and the packaging. So it's very much a market that's attuned to the emerging technology and the app world. I'm very much in agreement that books have enjoyed a slower migration from physical to digital. To me, that's mostly attributed to a lesser paradigm shift in the way we interact with the content. We've always consumed music roughly the same way, through speakers or earphones. The player has changed, but it's basically been on our hip the whole time, but the experience hasn't. So same with movies and television. We've always watched on a screen. It may be getting more portable with better resolution, but the experience hasn't really changed much. Also on the production side, it's also true. But the distribution and the revenue models have evolved, and that's clearly what's caused a lot of this industry shakeup. But the source material has essentially stayed the same in those areas. What we're dealing with now in the publishing world is a little different, in that ebooks are not only creating a new distribution method, but the technology, ebooks included, is creating a new content creation opportunity. The printed word is no longer static. The book no longer needs to be a linear experience. And consumers are consuming more content than ever before and looking for new ways to create and consume. So you see blogs and tweets and photos and videos and desktop and mobile and print and digital. It's all in play, and it all offers a tremendous opportunity for publishers. So before we proceed, just a little bit about the approach that we're employing here at Quirk. Obviously, to us, tech devices are a great means for consuming content, including text. So we've obviously made a priority, and I'm sure many people on this phone have made that same priority of converting to EPUB, getting all the backlists up there, and we really are stressing that conversion and doing it quickly. And obviously, all of our front lists, we're focusing on a same-day release. As for more of the emerging technologies, this is where we're sort of taking a little different of an approach, and where we see the opportunity. And as Barb outlined at the beginning, and as you'll see later, there's a lot of opportunity there in a lot of different places. So we've really taken the approach of experimenting with content and the technology, developing these new marketing assets using the technology, and utilizing it as a way to reach new customers and open new distribution, and hopefully initiating a new revenue stream along the way. But it's still very much an emerging world of opportunity with lots of mixed results. And before I walk you through some examples, I would remind that as with any product development, it's very important to have a clear audience in mind for the product, an understanding of why they'd want it and how they'll find it, which I think is as important as ever. And because, as I said earlier, the marketplace for content is extremely crowded, so having all of this in mind throughout the development process is even much more important when embracing technology. So the first example is this Pride and Prejudice and Zombies interactive ebook, which was released in 2010. And it's basically an interactive edition of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the New York Times bestseller that matched up the Jane Austen original with horrific zombie mayhem. And I think a key theme that you'll note is that we at Quirk, and I encourage you all to do this as well, is we attempt to use the technology to offer the consumer a different experience. In this case, it's one that a lot of people asked us about. How does this book compare side by side with the original text? And what we did here was, utilizing the gyroscope technology inside the iPad and iPhone, we were able to offer the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies in portrait mode. You flip it 180 degrees, and it's the Pride and Prejudice, and then if you hold it landscape, you can actually see side by side, and you can see where the author added new text and took text out of the original. We also included interactive elements to reveal the text, so it made it more of an interactive kind of game experience. We previewed this with a lot of the blogs that loved the book and created an app trailer highlighting the great features. Ultimately, though, it was Apple who gave us the biggest push by naming it App of the Week upon its release, and because they love the use of the technology, and it's something they really like to promote. What are we doing that other people aren't? And just, a side note on the sales, it was really, strong sales during that first week, and certainly during subsequent Apple promotions, Halloween and different times throughout the year. But ultimately, what we're finding with a lot of these apps is it does get lost in the App Store, and it's really on us as publishers to really find ways to kind of communicate and help people discover that content. So moving on, the next product that we've created is the Baby Owner's Data Tracker, which was released in November of 2012 as a complement to the reissue of our best-selling The Baby Owner's Manual. The book teaches you about the first year of your baby's life, but treats the baby as if it were a DVR. So it has a very techie feel to the book. That techie vibe of the book and its audience seems a natural for a companion app. And we thought that a free app that allows you to track and chart developmental milestones like weight and length and feeding times and sleep patterns would be a nice upgrade for the reader, as well as offer the marketing and publicity team a new story to tell in promoting the reissue of a 10-year-old book. And not only was the app promoted as a free feature of the book, the app was promoted inside the book, and the book was promoted inside the app. And this created a nice cross-promotion cycle that exposes each product to a new audience while adding value to the experience. Downloads have slowed since release, but have really maintained at a consistent level, and that seems to indicate to us that the cross-promotion from the book and back and forth really kind of helps this product life cycle.
Hey, Brett, I do have a quick question for you before we get on to the next slide.
Yeah.
One of the participants asked, explain to me how you promote the app side of it, or how you get people to find your app.
Yeah, I can answer that now, but I have a good example of that coming up in what we've done, and I think it'll be better answered there if we can wait a second.
We're good.
Cool. So the next one is this Craft a Day app, and what I'm trying to do by showing you these is sort of bring you into the thought process and some of the challenges and solutions we faced throughout it. And so beginning in the winter of 2012, we released these seasonal apps from our $24.99 book, which is called Craft a Day, and it had basically 365 accessible, fun, and themed crafts. The author was very eager to turn the book into an app, and we weren't quite sure of the need, frankly. We were mostly concerned about cannibalizing the book because the app was basically going to be the same as the book, and we really couldn't charge $24.99 for the app. So we ultimately decided to break the app into 4 seasons, and this helped with development times, allowed us to promote the app 4 times per year, and it didn't completely cannibalize the book. At the same time, it opened up the concept to an entirely new audience, and each app promotes the other apps and the book. So discovery has been tough on this one, and sales have been basically moderate at best. But in this case, the pricing was critical, and it was a real valuable lesson because we could have released one app of the whole book, but the app market, as everybody knows who buys apps, is still one that prefers a very cheaper price point and really prefers free. So by getting creative with the positioning, we were able to meet the app pricing sweet spot while not completely cannibalizing the physical book's pricing. And the next one it will help answer the question of what we're doing to help people find our apps. And it's a lot of things. This How to Con Your Kid app was released earlier this year, and basically it puts tons of information at your fingertips. It's a mobile version of the book that offers tricks and games and songs to help get your kid to cooperate during mealtime, bedtime, bath time, and more. The app allows parents and babysitters to store their favorite scams for quick access, share their favorites, and comment with the broader community of users. And the cool feature that we added was this crowdsourcing feature that allowed users to contribute their own cons right there in the app, which basically expanded upon the book. This app was built in collaboration with a third-party vendor, as opposed to kind of a work for hire, which some of the other ones were. And this vendor was particularly useful and helpful in teaching us a lot about app development, engagement, and marketing. And you know, it's still very much a learning experience. And one of the things we did with this was really kind of experiment with Facebook advertising. Facebook has a really great back end that's just focused on app conversion. So it really allows you to kind of target people for a really small budget. If anybody ever worked with Facebook ads or even Google ads, you know that you can really, kind of tailor your campaign to your budget. And it allows you to target, we were targeting parents, we were targeting babysitters, we were targeting sort of different areas that we felt this app would be useful, and then utilizing a lot of back-end things that Facebook had, you can really help and track the conversion. I would say that the campaign wasn't tremendously successful, but I think it is one way in promoting it. I think the most, the biggest success we've had with promoting is obviously integrating the app into the book, and also when the retailers get behind the app and promote that. And also we sort of employ the other tricks that publishers employ when promoting books. Getting early adopter feedback and involvement through blogs and media. So it is really like a full marketing campaign that these apps need and require depending upon your goals for them.
Just a quick question on that.
Yeah,
Talk a
sure.
little bit about the crowdsourcing. How many people did did contribute, and how well did that work for you?
It's very minimal
Okay.
adoption on the crowdsourcing, but I think it's also very minimal. Sales were very minimal. So I think the usage is indicative of the downloads. So it didn't really fare as well as we wanted, but I think, and I'll talk about this, in the takeaways, I think very much our approach to all of this right now is experimentation, because they are a lot of emerging technologies, and unless you can't really set out to develop the next Temple Run or Angry Birds, because that doesn't work. Those that set out to do it probably don't do it. You sort of do it by luck. Mm-hmm. And so I think finding something that really excites you, meaning the company, and you feel has an audience and that you can reach, as with anything, is really, really critical. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
The last product that I want to talk about is this Breakfast for Dinner enhanced ebook. This is developed in conjunction with Penguin Random House, using some of their proprietary technology, and it was released in March 2013. Due to the technology, this ebook was only available in the iBookstore, meaning the technology implemented it, and I'll talk a little about that, wasn't transferable to the Kindle ebook or the Nook ebook, but the regular editions are available elsewhere. The technology we used allowed us to kind of create a unique cookbook experience that included viewing step-by-step instructions in landscape mode, allowing you to isolate each step. You can build an emailable shopping list by clicking the recipes you want to make and just sending the shopping list to yourself. You could also sort the book by ingredient, one of my favorite functions, because you can just sort by bacon. So Apple was really excited about this first wave of enhanced ebooks that were developed in conjunction with Penguin Random House and Apple, and they promoted it to their customers in the iBookstore under the banner of enhanced books. The big thing is, what does that mean to the consumers? And without any real information to back it up, it doesn't mean that much. So we were sort of faced with the idea of having to promote a book only available at one retailer and educating the consumer about what those enhancements meant. And while that's definitely a worthwhile endeavor and something we pushed to do, it was still sort of an uphill battle, because right now enhanced ebooks can mean so many things to so many people. But I will add that I think this is a hugely growing opportunity for redefining books, and we're committed to this, and Penguin Random House is too, and hope that over time this marketplace begins to mature and understand that added value that these enhancements can bring in helping kind of shift the book from a linear experience into more of a dynamic experience based on the content that we can offer and the technology we can offer within basically what the content that the original book is in. We didn't really change the content much. We just sort of changed the back end that helped it function. So, overall, we've had a really positive experience transitioning our content to emerging platforms, because we went in with the mindset that it's an experimental phase, an experimental opportunity. And in addition to converting our list to ebooks, we really wanted to just try new things, be creative, and most importantly, learn. So our key takeaways here are discovery. Offer something compelling to the market and consider how they will find it. Knowing your audience and offering something that excites them and gets them to spread the word is always the best way to market a product, and that's really, sort of what we aim to do. And we've obviously been, more or less successful depending upon the product, but I think, we went into it with the right attitude about kind of creating a product that was cool and unique. Another thing we tried to do was build, because discovery is and continues to be an issue, building promotion into the product and the product cycle and having a strong marketing plan around it. And as anyone who's marketed anything, just because you have a great plan doesn't necessarily mean people will come. Just because you build it doesn't mean people will come. But I think trying to get the product out there into the right hands and then building that social element into it that allows people to share it and their usage. And I think building the promotion into the platform, I think the thing we do, by putting it in the book and integrating into the experience and creating a complement and companion product is really helpful and compelling. The technology, you know, books are great and can do a lot of things, but using the technology to do something different really is the main focus and a key takeaway. I mean, for us, the best case scenario is that our consumer wants to purchase and use both because they both offer a compelling proposition. And I think that you know, you can see that in a lot of the products we talked about. Another key takeaway is the platform, and that's a new issue for publishers. I mean, we can no longer create one product and distribute it to all retailers. Each platform requires a modification of the core product, which also adds expense and in some cases requires updates. And that really, you know, is something that we're just not used to as publishers. And then that kind of goes hand in hand with the pricing. Pricing in the digital world isn't the same as the physical book market, and more importantly, there's very little ability to forecast sales. So when you print a book, you can sort of print to order. You sort of know what's going on in the market and how many you roughly are going to need. And typically, printing is one of the larger expenses. In the digital world, all the costs are sunk in before you even sell one unit. So this requires a new P&L and a new way of thinking, and really kind of embracing that experimental approach and basically conservative aggressiveness, you know, and just kind of feeling what the market is going to want and what you want to be able to give them. So, I mean, in closing, I think this is kind of really exciting for publishers, and it's an exciting time, and in many ways it's a very different playing field. But I think, you know, we've always tried to rely on our strengths and do what we've been good at and take that into this new dimension, and I think that's, you know, really good advice for everybody. Just, you know, stick to what's been working and try to find ways to embrace the new technology and not necessarily reinvent yourself, but reinvent the content for this new in this new playing field. So thanks. That's my piece.
Okay, I got a couple questions before I turn it over to Scott for you.
Sure.
The first one, and if you're comfortable sharing this, fine. If you're not, but one of the participants asked, because it was such a restrictive promotion and it was available only in the iBook store, how were sales on Breakfast for Dinner?
I would say, I'll put it this way: they're a fraction, a very, 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 very small fraction of the print. And the book did the print book did well, and I think, you know, it's certainly under 1,000 units, and I think a lot of that had to do with you know, a couple things. Just it being that new technology, it not getting, you know, a general boost promotionally from the marketplace beyond Apple, and I think the Apple messaging was, you know, a little difficult for the consumer to really understand. You know, there's no distinction in the iBook store for what ebooks and enhanced ebooks are.
Okay. But a good learning experience, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's something that we're committed to, because I think it does offer the reader another reason to own the book in a different form, and I think that was something we really set out to do.
Okay. And one other question, Brett, you mentioned early on that, you know, you see the technology is opening a number of different new revenue streams over time for your company, and everybody, I think, realizes it's an evolution and not a revolution. But as you look at the future and new sources of revenue, what's your perspective on that? Where do you see that impacting your business, and where should publishers be looking?
You know, frankly, I think the biggest thing is just the new distribution models, and you know, I think everybody's being, you know, any publisher that's on this line is probably, you know, reading things about, you know, Oyster and Entitle and Librify and all the different distribution models that are being, you know, thrown at us, and subscription models and this and that. And I think, you know, we're cautiously optimistic about what those represent, and I don't think, you know, and we are not jumping feet forward into, you know, headfirst into all of these different distribution models, and we're looking at them with, you know, an idea that this is something interesting and something new, but, you know, what does it mean? But I do think that it is opening new distribution channels, and I think that's probably the most exciting and probably the quickest, you know, growth for the bottom line, but I do think, for creative publishers like ourselves and even, all kinds of publishers, I do think that the different kind of emerging technologies, whether it is augmented reality or finding ways to integrate, I think it's just going to be, a consumer education thing over time. And I think a lot of, publishers have been hesitant to jump into that because, we don't want to, is there a benefit to being the first? Well, yes, because you're the first, but if nobody knows what it is, then you're taking on all the costs of educating the market for what that is. So I think, I think it's just an approach that we're sort of wading through, but I think right now the distribution models are probably the biggest bump to the bottom line.
Okay, great, thanks. Now we're going to shift gears a little, and I'm going to turn it over to Scott Yoakum, and Scott's going to take you through a little different business model, but how they're bringing to life books with augmented reality. And so with that, I'm going to turn over to Scott. Scott, take it away.
Thank you so much. Also, Brett, thank you for a very good presentation. And I think he really brings to light the experimentation. And one of the points he left as a takeaway is being first to market. And we sadly jumped into that lake way early. About 2011, we came out with our first augmented reality book. And I'll talk to everyone about the pitfalls of that in a quick moment. What PopR is we were a gaming company first. We did projects for Disney, we did projects for the Department of Education, and we were ultimately a online as well as a gaming company first. When we realized the technology called augmented reality, which was talked to us before, we saw a potential to bridge the gap between a physical product and a digital product. And that's where we see a lot of the industry going. So we jumped into the publishing market the opposite way most people go. Most people in the publishing market started with print, and they're now going towards and enhanced books. We started with the digital part, and now we're going into the publishing and physical part. So we understand a lot of the struggles in a different manner. But one of the things that we'd really try to focus on is the experience itself. And like content, we really try to focus on the experience. What can we bring to the user that's different than they would get from a physical page of the book? We don't want to just bring the e-learning endeavor into a book and tell users that what PopR is just a digital version of that physical print. It has to be more. It has to be enhanced. It has to give more content for the user to engage with what they've got. And what we did is we actually hit upon a really good mark in the industry with stories that come to life and learning that comes to life and play that comes to life because we bridged the gap. And that's really what it is about in bringing a lot of this content to life. All the publishers have is the content. How do we bring it to life is really where we look at the technologies and the delivery systems. And that's where augmented reality really comes to play. And in 2012, we actually brought to life one of our books, and what happened was something fantastic for us is, as Brett was talking about, how do you get the promotion? How do you get the content for the consumer? Well, you make it sexy. And for us, when we came out with our book that comes alive, we got a tremendous amount of press in the industry for a book, not just because we were a bestseller, but because what the book did for the consumers and the customer and the readers and the parents. We were voted, which was very surprising in 2012, Best Book of the Year and Best Toy of the Year. And so we did cross-promotion in two different industries. A book won a toy award, and a toy won a book award in a cross-branding experience. And so that got us on the TV, and that got us in the press for something that is not as sexy to consumers as one would think, but we created this very good, I would say, interest. And you'll see in the next video, Bloomberg TV coming across and seeing how important both mobile devices are into the book industry as well as the toy industry. So we'll watch just a quick video now about Bloomberg.
$100 billion smartphone industry keeps growing, and now it's breaking into the toy industry. Matt Miller went to the toy fair here in New York. Here's what he found.
If there was a common theme at this year's toy fair, it wasn't all the mustaches.
This is literally the fourth mustache-related toy at the fair.
It was that nearly all the hot new toys coming out on the market will be integrating smart devices in some way. According to NPD data, an average family of 4 has 8 separate smart devices in the home. And kids age 4 to 14 have access to at least 3 of those devices. The nearly $200 billion smartphone market is starting to get into the $21 billion toy industry. Take, for instance, Pop-R, which uses augmented reality to change ordinary boards and books into full-blown 3D models that you can work with and manipulate, making it easy to explore space.
It makes you want to grab it, so there's your hand. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. Make a book come to life, or even make yourself into a princess with a magic wand.
So it gives you an impression that what we have in both the publishing or the toy industry or the learning industry is this amazing amount of distribution potential, especially with augmented reality, because it's not just about a book. It's about how the different modalities can be given to both publishers and authors. From our perspective, when we give a book, a physical book that actually has an augmented reality enhancement associated with it, we increase modalities such as creative perception and hand-eye coordination. We now appeal to learners like myself, and one of the real reasons why we created the company was because of some learning disabilities that are actually in students these days, whether it be ADHD or people like myself who really can't pay a lot of attention in the classroom if I'm not giving some interactive engagement. And so that's what these books do. They don't just create the ability to have something pop up and talk to you, but you can now engage with the content. You can interact with the content. And more importantly, you can engage and interact with other audience members of that content, which actually brings your audience together in one collective group, which is fantastic. And again, of course, with all books, what comes to the critical mass for us and a lot of what we do is the cost. And what we embraced a few years ago within all these features is a product called Qualcomm. And this is actually a free development tool to enhance our books in augmented reality. The software itself is named Vuforia, and they allow us to do all of these things inside of our physical books: augmented reality, virtual reality, interactivity, games, videos, and read-alongs that we put in every book. So a simple piece of software and a development team can bring all of these to light. But like what Brett was mentioning, it's about experimentation. What does the consumer want? What does your audience want to see in those products? And that's what's really, really important. When you're looking at what a consumer wants when it comes to a planets book, for instance, they want to see the planets come alive. They want to see them spin. They want to zoom into them. They want to see videos. But what can we do in augmented reality in a book that no one else can? Well, I can take the sun, and I can actually put it in proportion to the Earth and Mars and Jupiter in real time and be able to have kids and teachers swap the planets and do comparisons together. They can fly. They can drive rovers. Everything they can do on their phone, they're now doing in a physical book. And that comes to the conclusion for us is, how do we deliver a lot of these titles to users? And we'll get on that in a quick moment. But the reality is this: we deliver a physical product first, and our e-book and our interactive book at second. And that's the focus on it, is our delivery system is still the physical store first, because to have the digital product, you need to have the physical product. And so our delivery system is the traditional one, where we're in the store, we have a physical product, a physical puzzle, or a physical chart. And it's as simple as, a QR code, but it's different because it's in 3D, and the interactivity is not pushing a user towards a website, but to our own software. And once we're in our software, we can do a multitude of things. So for users, it's as simple as opening a book, pointing a tablet at that book, or a phone, Android or Apple, and then they play and they interact in real time. And every page comes to life for the users. So there's hidden things for them to play with, interaction, games, questions, and it grows with the user over time. And that's what's really unique about our line. For instance, think about content, not just books, but printed materials such as activity books or even charts. If I have a chart of the world, I could actually post in real-time currency, weather. For instance, the capitals and presidents map is a great printed chart, but, in a few years we're going to get a new president. Well, we can update that in real time. When Pluto didn't become a planet anymore, we can actually remove it in real time from the chart. And so these pieces of static literature or static information can change dynamically in the digital world so that we can keep them updated. A question was quickly asked about what the software name was. It was called Vuforia, and it's Qualcomm. Someone had a reference question for that. We're finding that our distribution model is also word of mouth. Just like any good book or any good chart or any good puzzle, people want to talk about it. And more importantly, we're going to get to a category here which, book publishers are in, which are puzzles. But let's talk about a situation in which one of the nation's largest puzzle makers came to us and said, we're losing shelf space to other games. We're losing shelf space to other toys. How can we add value to puzzles but not take away shelf space or our bottom line? And so what we've done for one of the largest puzzle manufacturers here in the U.S. is we've augmented their entire line of puzzles, and they got placed in Target and Walmart and Walgreens, because what we did for them was we tied all their puzzles together. So on the shelf itself, still a physical puzzle, you still put it together, and you feel accomplished when you're done. But the augmentation behind it is unique, because what creates behind it is you download an app from their company and point it at that finished puzzle, and now you've got the digital puzzle to play with anytime you want. And you can actually compete with that puzzle with all people across the world, which is fantastic. So now you're puzzling digitally, but now competitively, which is adding a whole other field to the world of puzzling. And for us, we brought puzzles to life just like we did books. You have a puzzle about construction machines, and all the construction machines will actually pop off the pages of the puzzle or the pieces of the puzzle. You can drive them around. You can learn about the tractors. You can play video games off the puzzle. The idea is when the last page is read, when the last piece is put in, that's where most products end, but that's where our products begin again. And that's what we've got to look at with enhanced content, is driving deeper behind the pages and deeper behind the puzzle pieces and the charts, that there's more information to connect your customers. And we feel there's a tremendous amount of value associated with this, because before, when you had a book that went to a reader and the reader read the book, you had no more connection with the reader unless they reached out to you. With our products, once the reader buys the book, they connect back with us, and we can bring a community of our readers and our interests together inside that community, whether it be puzzling or teachers, or in the sense our books themselves. If they like space, we can announce and cross-brand our products together. So that digital enhancement brings that user back to the home of where they were published, which is great for us. And so when you start to blend this mobile with books and more, you truly, from a standpoint, get added retail consumer and shelf life value. We find that we stay on the shelf longer because we're a physical and digital product. We find that consumers will choose our products over regular products that do not have enhanced value. And the retail market, such as the Walmarts and the Targets and the QVCs, which we're on, want products that have more than just a physical aspect. They want a bonus. They want something more to give to the user. And the user is demanding that. They want an enhancement. They want something else as a reader. And it does reach a broader audience. We're finding that some of our users who were digital game players and they never really wanted to open a book, they only opened it for schools, are now wanting our books for Christmas. So they're shifting their focus of, oh, it's just a book, I want the next Angry Birds download, to I want that book because it has a digital complement to it. And now you're reaching that audience that was once lost, connecting them back, which is fantastic. And more importantly, when we went to the 2012 International Book Fair in New York, we found that a lot of the segmentation was there were ebooks and there were physical books, but where's the bridge? I don't mind QR codes and I don't mind ebooks, but where's the bridge that really connects both those pieces together? You don't want people just buying an ebook or just a physical book. With augmented reality, they're buying your physical book and upgrading to a digital ebook, upgrading to an augmented reality enhancement, upgrading to a community forum, upgrading to video games. You're connecting a user to that book with a whole other world of content. And your content now becomes more engaging, of course, dynamic. And like I said, imagine a chart on a wall that shows currency in real time or weather patterns. This is something that allows kids to interact together as well. And again, it allows you to connect back with them. Now that they're reading something, you can connect with them in their bedroom, in their living room, on the planes in a different way. What we have found through the last 3 years of making content is even though that the augmented reality content comes alive in the book, they can't take the book everywhere, and they can't take their mobile phone everywhere. But once they unlock the content, they can access it by any device, which makes it very nice and very connected. And the longer the content is involved with your customer, the more the brand, the more the story, the more that world gets connected together. And content is king, and it's about experimentation. And I love to see what's coming out in the industry with how people are interacting with content, how they're unlocking content, and how they're bringing it to life for users. So ultimately, this is a bridge that we're talking about with how to bring digital and physical content together into one platform and one product. And the hardest thing about what we do, and this is probably the next step in what we're going to share with you, is what is it? What does it look like? How does it interact? And I've got a short video clip, just a little commercial about showing our products in action and how people use them.
Welcome to the 3D interactive universe of Pop Art Toys. Award-winning Pop Art books, puzzles, and charts come to life right before your eyes with stunning animations, engaging read-alongs, amazing games, and so much more. Open a book and interact with the marvelous world of bugs. Or travel to the enchanted castle and meet the princesses and their pals. Simply point your Apple or Android smartphone or tablet at any Pop Art product and get ready for hours of fun adventures for the whole family. Hang up an interactive wall chart and fly through our solar system and explore planets, probes, and even launch a rocket. Learning and playing has never been so easy. Assemble any Pop Art puzzle and then continue the adventure to bulldoze your way through a construction site or dress up your princess and have a princess party. Even run down the field to score the winning touchdown. After a Pop Art puzzle is done, the fun has begun. It's as easy as A, B, C 3D. Visit your local Pop Art Toys retailer to open up your imagination and start your magical journey today. Pop Art Toys, bringing play to life.
So for us, it's just bringing learning and play to life for users. And what we started researching and what we started getting from our customers is they wanted more and more content. Well, we can't print more pages of a book, but we can update the apps. And what we can do is get that feedback and give them real-time updates of information that allows things to change so that it keeps an app on a phone longer. As we all know, a book actually stays on a shelf a lot longer than an app stays on a phone. But when you combine that book and that app together, you then have an experience that gets used and stays in the customer's life for a very long time. One of the things we're finding, and I apologize that the video had no audio, I wasn't able to hear it on my end. Hopefully the visuals contextualized a little bit about what we visually did. But what we found very quickly is our international audience was a lot more adept to accepting new technologies and enhancements than our national audience here in the States were. We have more contracts and more distribution outside the U.S. with our products than inside the U.S. More language changes and more adaptations to our products, which is was very interesting to us because we spent the last 2 years when we first came out with the products here in the U.S., and as soon as we went outside the U.S., it was widely adopted and integrated all across the world, which was fantastic for us. And again, when we update, or like we're doing a Russian language book now, we update the app and all the books now get a Russian update. And so all the books now can be translated into Russian in real time. So if you have the book and you bought it from 2 years ago, your book now is in Russian as well as English. And so that book becomes useful not just for when it comes out in the first edition or the third edition, but that first edition gets updated as well with all the latest gadgets of the third edition for us, which is fantastic. Truly the implications when you're looking at the mobile technology bridge, and Brett really focused on this, which is really, hard for people, is it's the cost to expand into this market, because it's not just about bringing text on a tablet and text on a phone. It has to be relative to this digital age, and that comes at a price. And good content will always reign. Not everyone can make this Angry Birds Temple Run type game. It is a hit and miss, but you do have to do a lot of testing. You do have to engage with your customers. You do have to know your audience. If it's done poorly, it's just a cost. But if it's done well, it's an asset. It's a digital asset as well as a physical asset for your content. And it expands your market. And this close connection is really important because we connect with our customers all the time. I get letters and emails from customers using the product and love the interaction that we can give back and forth. And that's a great connection that we appreciate. And if you choose not to bridge this gap, sadly enough, your clients and your competitors will bridge the gap. And that's scary for us because we see that a lot of the content developers out there are getting into the physical marketplace. And a lot of the physical content developers, the physical publishers, are choosing not to get into the digital market space. And all I have to say is I started digitally, and I saw the market opportunity for physical. It's just a matter of time until everything has a bridge. It's going to cost money, but in the end, the customers appreciate it, they engage with it, and they will spend more money. We get not only the purchase price of the physical product, but we get the digital upgrades along the way. The software is free, but inside the software there are enhancements such as videos and video games that cost money that we do find users do use, and we can recoup the costs very quickly through the games and video enhancements and other enhancements that come with the software depending upon what products you choose. But let's talk about something really fun. And I don't know who we've got on the webinar, but these types of technologies can cross almost any spectrum. And this is what we're looking for in the future. Magazines, it's interactive storytelling, flashcards. Imagine board games coming to life. They do now and they will continue, but new board games coming out, licenses for old board games, your wallpaper on your walls. It sounds funny, but imagine having an aquarium in your room. The holodeck is a possibility right now. I could put a jungle in your room and vines can come off your bunk bed and a frog can be jumping off your desk today. Just take some wallpaper and our technology, augmented reality overlaid with some great content, decals and stickers and posters. But more importantly, whatever you're doing can be enhanced. We can bring a coloring book to life. We can bring a novel to life. It really is up to your imagination and what you can deliver. Most of you are probably wondering how the technology works, and you want to know if you can get a quick demo of it. I'm assuming that everyone's got the ability to download an app today. This image here can show you how to do a PopR demo. Our app is free. It's called the PopR Viewer app. It's both on the App Store and Google Play. It's just a quick demo app. You can point it at this image here, which is the kid with the book that has a rocket coming out of it, which we do actually have. We have a book with a rocket coming out, which is awesome. And you can see the demo here. If you can download the images, put it on your screen, you can print it out, use it either way, and it will work. But when you look at technology, you have to embrace it with the idea that you embrace your content the first time. You have to believe in your content, and you have to know your audience. And when you do, it's amazing what you can do. And for us, it's brought learning and play to life. So thank you for taking the time today. And
Scott, I got a couple questions for you. First,
yeah.
Scott, I got a couple questions for you. The first thing is, what kind of a development staff does it take to build out these kinds of augmented reality books?
Well, we've got we put a team of 3 to 4 people on each project that we have. We have an audio engineer, we have a 3D engineer, we have an interface designer, and we have a programmer. And they all work in conjunction together because, you know, a book needs to be read to you. If you're talking about dinosaurs, kids want to see the bones. You know, and some of these, once you've developed the content, it's about enhancing it the way the kids want. The kids want to pull apart a bug and see all the different parts of it and put it back together and see it fly. And so there's audio and engineering and 3D visual design as interface design as well.
And then you talk about the importance of content and content creators in this environment. How do you get authors to create content such that it lends itself to coming to life?
We've never really had a problem. I've got a huge waiting list for us to create content for many other authors, whether it be children's books or adult books. The spectrum is there. to create content. It's really a matter of just time.
Okay, great. And now, if anybody else has any other questions, please key them in. I've got just a couple of wrap-up comments that I think summarize a bit about what you heard from both Brett as well as Scott. The first one is that regardless of whether it's a mobile app or it's augmented reality or it's a QR code to download interactive video about a recipe, what that end user is looking for in today's market is, in fact, an experience. And that experience we're seeing more and more is bringing the worlds of mobile technology together with the physical world. And I think Brett did a great job at indicating the importance of making sure that you know who your audience is, who they are, what's important to them, and how do they want to be engaged. There's a number of different things ranging from mobile barcodes to NFC tags to augmented reality and mobile apps that are going to extend that experience. And what you're seeing is a lot of practical applications out there today that will drive use. Things like getting more and more familiar with augmented reality QR code from practical business applications, and they'll lend themselves and build into the realm of the book market. And so, you know, the couple critical comments here are that the technology is available. You're seeing people start to pursue it, especially the leaders. You're seeing consumers that are getting much, much more educated. Integrating print in the digital world is essential to engaging that audience. You're going to see interactive print applications growing, and they'll continue to do so. And last but not least, interactivity means that publications will have incremental value and, in the long run, better margins. Now, I see I've got a couple questions coming in, and so let me grab those questions real quickly, and I'll forward them to Brett and Scott. We've got one person that thanked us for the webinar. One other quick question for you, Scott, and that's, can you talk to the publisher side of this about how you can monetize it from a business perspective?
A few ways we're monetizing it. I'll talk about a case study that we just did for the puzzle company. So they're giving away their puzzle app for free. Obviously, you're physically buying the puzzle. You point the phone at the puzzle comes to life, or the puzzle downloads a digital version of the physical version. But what then happens is there's about 9 other puzzles, maybe in the Norman Rockwell series, that the user then has access to. Maybe Walmart only picked up the one puzzle, but now all 9 digital puzzles are there. And for another 99 cents or whatever the spectrum is that you want to place that value at, we monetize it by saying, hey, you've got the physical puzzle and you've got the digital version, but you can have 9 other puzzles to play with for 99 cents. So do you want to upgrade, or do you want to buy the entire pack of all the nature scenes? And that's one way that the puzzle company is monetizing it. The other way is simple. With when we give a app from one of our books away, we usually have about 30 minutes of video that we tack into a book or a chart. But we don't give that video away. We charge for it. So the book comes alive, and if you want the videos of all the states or you want the videos of all the bugs, we charge another 99 cents, and that 99 cents then gets monetized for us. We also have just begun taking these products and making them both physical and digital. So once you have them digital, you don't need the physical anymore. It enhances it, but you can then cross-brand the books. So if someone buys a chart, they can then go and buy the solar system digital version and use it that way.
Great. Well, listen, we're at the top of the hour, so I would like to take a minute to thank both Brett and Scott for tremendous content. If you do have any last-minute questions, we'll get back to you via email. Again, we appreciate everybody's time and attention. We hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thanks again, Brett and Scott. And if you've got a minute, if you've got a minute, please fill out the survey relative to the webinar. Again, thanks to everyone, and have a great rest of the day.